May isang antas ng mental at physical na lakas na nagpapamuka sa iyong invincible. A level of operational efficiency na lampas sa baseline ng average professional. Nakakita ka na bang ang taong hindi nababasag ang composure kahit gaano katindi ang emotional volatility ng sitwasyon? While others succumb to stress-induced cortisol spikes, they remain perfectly calibrated habang ang karamihan ay gumagawa ng rason para i-justify ang kanilang failures through cognitive biases. Siya patuloy na umabante, maintaining forward momentum without the friction of excuses. At alam mo ba ang sinasabi ni iba? Swerte lang daw siya, an external attribution used to mask their own systemic inefficiencies. Malakas sa boss is just a cope for those who lack strategic positioning. Pero ang hindi naintindihan ng marami sa analytical standpoint, may mataas na presyong kailangang bayaran, a high-stakes commitment to behavioral reconfiguration na itinatago na sa loob ng 4 na taon na ang nakalipas. Isang lalaki sa Tokugawa era ang nagbayad ng presyong ito. He wasn't just a swordsman, he was the ultimate case study in peak performance optimization. Nanalo siya sa mahigit 60 high-stakes duels. Nagsimula sa edad na 13. At hindi kailanman natalo. That is a 100% success rate in life or death scenarios where the margin of error is 0. Kung pamilyar ka sa tsena na ito, malamang alam mo na. We don't deal with myths. We deal with legacy data. Si Miyamoto Musashi, hindi siya ang pinakamalakas pisikal ni ang pinakamabilis. From a purely physiological standpoint, he was an outlier, but not the strongest. He didn't rely on raw brute force, pero nag-develop siya ng cognitive framework na hindi kayang siray ng sinuman. It's a mental firewall that filters out the noise of BGC traffic and office politics. This is the invincible mind. Bago siya mamatay, nilog niya ang lahat ng raw data na ito sa The Book of Five Rings, hindi bilang tula, kundi bilang isang comprehensive operational manual para sa survival. Nasa mga pahina nito ang eksaktong mental roadmap para i-rewire ang iyong cognitive architecture. We are talking about the total synchronization ng iyong utak at physical response, bypassing the usual lag of indecision. Pero may critical catch. Ang method ni Musashi is not powered by motivation na alam nating mabilis magdeplete sa gitna ng deadline. Hindi ito feel-good BGC coffee talk. Nakabase ito sa radical elimination. In behavioral engineering terms, hindi siya nag-get ng features. Tinanggal niya ang lahat ng system bloat, ang ego, distractions, at dependencies na nagpapabagal sa iyong execution. Bago ko i-deconstruct ang system na ito para sa iyong workflow optimization, iniimbitahan kitang mag-subscribe. Join our data-driven community para sa regular na audit ng iyong mental performance. I drop ang iyong core vulnerability sa comments section These are essential qualitative data points na rin-research ko para sa ating ongoing pattern recognition. Now, returning to the behavioral analysis, Chapter 1, The Awakening, upang ma-stress test ang Dokodo Principles. Kailangan natin ng real-world application. Let's look at the case of an engineer we'll call Lucas. Lucas is a 2-year-old structural engineer sa isang top-tier firm sa BGC. Typical socioeconomic profile, stable income, family man, high-pressure environment. On paper, he is optimized for success. But the internal metrics tell a different story. Ang diagnosis? Lucas has a severe structural problem in his psyche. May mga cognitive cracks na siya. Hindi lang ito simpleng pagkapagod. It's a failure of his internal architecture to handle the torque of corporate and personal demands. Look at his execution metrics. Nag-enroll sa gym ng 3 beses, pero 0 conversion rate, total commitment decay. In the corporate world, we call this a failed iteration. Sa kalsada, niñas kugon, analytically speaking. This is a textbook case of midweek cognitive attrition. Look at the data. High-octane motivation every Monday, followed by a systemic collapse by Wednesday. Ang typical na ningas kugon algorithm is active here. High initial burst, 0 sustaining power. Every snooze button hit is a micro-failure of the prefrontal cortex. 7 beses siyang bumibigay sa resistance. This isn't just laziness, it's a reinforced neural pathway of non-commitment bago pa man siya makatapak sa banyo. Notice the flowchart of disappointment? We see a high amplitude, strong intention phase, but the transition to execution is plagued by high resistance friction. Sa behavioral economics, tawag natin dito ay execution deficit in high-stakes corporate environments in BGC or critical family disputes. Lucas experiences an acute amygdala hijack. He freezes. The invincible mind is absent, replaced by a defensive biological retreat sa gitna ng pressure. Si Lucas ay operating strictly on legacy firmware, the autopilot mode. He reacts to the ETSA traffic, reacts to the boss's passive-aggressive email, but never initiates strategic movement. He is a passenger in his own biology, not the pilot, at ito na ang point of total system failure. In the middle of a high-stakes executive meeting sa Makati, Lucas experienced a full-blown hardware crash, a panic attack. His sympathetic nervous system entered a feedback loop. Acute physiological volatility, bumilis ang tibok ng puso. Excessive perspiration, and the total loss of situational awareness. He had to evacuate the room. He sought clinical intervention, but the lab results were negative for physical pathology. Ang diagnosis? A massive deficit in mental fitness. The hardware was fine, but the software was corrupted by chronic stress. The medical specialist confirmed it. Ang katawan niya ay trigger ng fight or flight response. based on ghost threats. His internal sensors were detecting fatal dangers that didn't actually exist in the physical plane. This is evolutionary lag. Hindi ma-distinguish ng primitive brain mo ang pinagkaiba ng isang gutom na leon sa isang complex spreadsheet. To your amygdala. A missed KPI is a life or death situation. Back in his condo, Lucas was deep diving into the biomechanics of stress. Hindi na sapat ang kape. He was looking for a specific protocol to recalibrate his sympathetic nervous system para hindi siya mag-trigger ng panic mode sa gitna ng board meeting. Then, the search algorithm hit the jackpot. Lumabas ang pangalang Miyamoto Musashi. Isang 17th century kensei na. May 100% winning rate over 60 duels. In modern risk assessment, that's a mathematical impossibility. Lucas realized na hindi lang ito inspirational quotes para sa wallpaper. This is a tactical manual of warfare. Musashi's insights are behavioral design protocols meant to maximize human lethality and psychological resilience against any external chaos. Step 1 sa Total Mental Overhaul ni Lucas, Chapter 2. Ang prinsipyo ng elimination. We're gonna strip away the useless mental weight that causes high latency in his performance. Have no preferences. Sa BGC culture na obsessed sa choices at customization, this sounds contradictory. Pero ayon kay Musashi, ang preference ay isang cognitive vulnerability, isang lag sa iyong decision-making process kapag nagbago ang market conditions sa cognitive map ni Lucas. Error ni Tsaznij, he's questioning the logic. Paano magiging optimized ang performance kung walang standardized system o specific bias? Para sa kanya, preference is safety. Dito pumapasok ang behavioral vulnerability analysis ni Musashi. Basic data. Kapag ang output mo ay conditional meaning, nakadepende sa external variables, you are statistically fragile. Isang change lang sa environment, collapse agad ang KPIs mo. Let's translate this to BGC lifestyle metrics. Kung ang physical conditioning mo ay naka-gatekeep sa high-end gym membership at expensive gear, your fitness is a liability, not an asset. You are conditioned by your tools, not your will. Deep work requires focus. Yes. Pero kung kailangan mo pa ng 10, 0 peso noise-canceling headphones at absolute silence sa office para lang maging productive, you have zero mental resilience. You are a slave to your surroundings. Musashi's doctrine was pure environmental adaptation. Nag-train siya sa torrential rain, scorching heat, kamitang bukan o kahit anong dampot na kahoy. He eliminated the preference for comfort to achieve zero cognitive lag regardless of the terrain. Bakit? Dahil hindi maghihintay ang kalaban hanggang sa maging handa ka. In the high-stakes environment of BGC, market volatility and operational threats have zero latency. Kabaliktaran ito ni Lucas. Nakadepende ang disiplina niya sa external factors. This is a classic single point of failure. Kapa walang meal prep ni Mrs. Compromise agad ang nutritional and mental focus niya. Kaya ginawa niya ang turo ni Musashi. Eliminate niya ang dependencies. He executed a full system purge of his cognitive overhead to regain operational autonomy. Nagsimula siya sa maliit. 20 push-ups araw-araw. Walang gym. Walang equipment. Minimum viable discipline. Ang target, zero friction execution sa kahit anong environment. Unang linggo, madali. Ikalawang linggo, physical fatigue sets in. Ikatlong linggo, may business trip sa Cebu. Dito natin makikita kung ang system niya ay antifragile o babalik lang sa dating. Ningaskugon pattern, pangapat na linggo, nakaflu siya. Sa behavioral modeling natin, ito ang critical failure point, ang moment kung saan ang dating ningaskugon habits ni Lucas ay nag-activate ng system shutdown. Pero in-invoke niya ang core principle ni Musashi. Do nothing which is of no use. Sa perspektive ng Abi architecture, hindi siya pwedeng mag-downtime. Ang practice ay dapat magpatuloy. Regardless of the physiological payload, dito pumasok ang dynamic scaling. May sakit, 10 reps. 0 energy, 5 reps. In this framework, the absolute value must never reach 0 to prevent the total collapse of his neural pathways. Chapter 3, Heijoshin. Ang paglipat natin mula sa raw discipline patungo sa cognitive poise, ang kakayahang manatiling kalmado kahit nasa gitna ng corporate chaos. Day 40. Physically, na upgrade na ang hardware ni Lucas, pero ang internal processing niya overloaded pa rin. Ang utak niya ay parang EDSA, traffic, high volume, high stress, at punong-puno ng cognitive noise. Look at the data points. High cortisol levels from 2 hours in EDSA traffic. High cognitive load from unpaid bills and the constant stochastic noise of family expectations. Ang isip ni Lucas, overclocked and overheating. Nariyan ang anxiety sa opisina. Financial volatility at ang paralyzing fear of failure. To fix the mental hardware, we need a paradigm shift. Dito pumasok ang pinakamahalagang cognitive framework ni Musashi, Heijoshin. In behavioral science, we call this maintaining a steady baseline. Literal translation, the everyday mind. An immovable state regardless of external variables. Musashi's core thesis was simple yet lethal. Sa oras ang laban, ang isip mo ay dapat kapareho ng isip mo kapag uminom ka ng tso. No spikes in heart rate, no emotional surges, zero variance. He demands a seamless integration of calmness and combat. Is it a paradox? Absolutely. Pero sa corporate battlefield ng BGC, paano mo ito i-apply? Paano ka magiging stoic kung may nananabotahin ng KPI mo? Paano mo i-optimize ang sanity mo sa gitna ng isang toxic performance review? The secret isn't suppression, it's calibration. The solution is neurological decoupling. Itran mo ang prefrontal cortex mo na mag-observe, hindi mag-react. You don't delete the fear that's a system error. Instead, you treat fear as raw, non-actionable data. Inobserbahan mo lang ito. But you never give it execution privileges. Isinasailalim ni Lucas ang protocol na ito sa isang stress test. Tuwing gridlock siya sa EDSA o nasa gitna ng isang high cortisol dispute sa kanyang asawa. Hindi siya bumibigay sa impulse. Ino-optimize niya ang kanyang oxygen saturation. Humihinga siya ng malalim. Ina-audit ang bawat internal sensation ng walang anumang reactive feedback loop sa simula para itong cognitive torture. Pero tinatrato niya lang itong raw data, ang bilis ng tachycardia, ang palmar hyperhidrosis, at ang tension sa kanyang masseter muscles. Ang real-world application nito, isang high-stakes boardroom session kung saan isang toxic superior ang nag-launch ng verbal assault sa harap ng buong departamento. Legacy Lucas would have suffered a total cognitive freeze. Ngayon, kinikilala niya ang amygdala hijack. Rationalize ang takot. At nananatiling neutral ang kanyang verbal cadence. Look at their micro-expressions. Total system shock. Na-access ni Lucas ang Heijoshin ang internal operating system na hindi natitinag. Kahit sa gitna ng corporate warfare sa BGC, this isn't just Zen mysticism, it's neurobiological optimization. Ang Stanford neuroprofiles ay nagpapatunay. Heijoshin literally rewires your amygdala, neutralizing the fear response during high-stakes negotiations. Notice the data point here. Tumatas ang activation threshold ng utak, ang dating triggers ng panic like a sudden deadline or a toxic boss na yon, filtered na as pure recognition. Zero emotional leakage. Chapter 4. Sen, no sen. Ang daan ng mandirigma. We are shifting from defensive resilience to offensive cognitive dominance. Critical failure point. Alam ni Musashi na ang kalmadong utak sa loob ng mahinang katawan ay isang statistical illusion kung ang bio-vessel mo ay compromised, babagsak ang iyong cognitive load capacity sa behavioral biomechanics. Non-negotiable ang biovessel integrity kung suboptimal ang physical state mo. Magsasuffer ang executive function ng iyong prefrontal cortex. It's simple. Weak body, fragile focus, strong body, unshakable resolve. Tingnan natin si Lucas, nampulo ng kanyang regimen. Yet he's just scratching the surface. ang ginagawa niya ay baseline maintenance pa lang. Hindi pa niya na-encounter ang systemic failure na kailangang ay test ang kanyang mental fortitude under extreme physiological duress. Si Musashi ay nagte-training lampas sa human limitations. Using the terrain as a forge to replicate this warrior paradox in a modern setting, Lucas engineered a high-stakes protocol. This isn't just exercise, it's a forced neural pathway override. The protocol, 100 push-ups every single day for 30 days. Walang lusot. Kahit gaano ka-cluttered ang meeting schedule sa Makati. Kahit abutin ng OT. Ang objective ay decouple ang physical pain mula sa mental commitment. Day 1, 45 minutes. And completion time. Low efficiency. Pag-dating ng day 5. DOMS kicks in. Ang muscles niya, parang semento, dito na lumalabas ang mental friction. This is the exact point where most people succumb to the quit signal. Day 15. We observe the completion time drop to 20 minutes. By day 30, systemic efficiency peaked 12 minutes flat. Zero downtime. We are seeing a 40% reduction in cognitive and physical latency through sheer repetition protocol. Ang nag-undergo ng reconfiguration dito ay hindi lang biomechanics, kundi ang neural circuitry niya. Once you breach the perceived impossible, the brain's self-preservation bias is overridden. Ang dating hirap ay nagiging baseline na lang. Phase 5, Zanshin. In our optimization framework, this is what we call permanent consciousness or sustained operational awareness. Ayon sa behavioral records ni Musashi, many warriors fail due to the post-victory slump sa BGC culture. Ito yung mga petics mode agad after a successful campaign, not realizing that complacency is a high-risk security vulnerability. Ang Zanshin ay ang cognitive radar na hindi nagdi-deactivate even after the target is neutralized. It is the commitment to maintain executive focus hanggang sa dulo ng execution phase and beyond. Ito ang classic post-performance cognitive crash ni Lucas pagkatapos ng high-stakes project. Biglang mag-offline ang kanyang systems, isang dangerous state ng dopamine depletion at mental fog. In-upgrade namin ang kanyang operating system gamit ang Zanshin. Imbes na mag-collapse after push-ups, he maintains a 3-0-second post-action stance. It's a neurological cooldown to ensure the brain remains in command mode. Kahit sa gitna ng toxic BGC corporate politics. Hindi na siya nagre-resort sa doom-scrolling as a coping mechanism. He uses the post-meeting gap for conscious recalibration. Pinoproseso ang data bago ang next task. This is how you trigger long-term potentiation kapag na-maintain mo ang awareness pagkatapos ng stimulus. Ini-integrate mo ang learnings directly into your neural pathways. Hindi lang ito memory. Ito ay hard coding. Day 90. Ang dating ningas kugong na empleyado, naging epitome ng stoicism. His colleagues now see a high-frequency professional na hindi na natataranta kahit sa peak of EDSA level chaos. Chapter 6, Fudoshin. Ang isip na hindi gumagalaw. We are now entering the final stage of neural reconfiguration. Dumating ang pinakamatinding system-wide stress test sa day 105. Isang high-stakes emergency meeting. Mass redundancy notice. Tatanggalin si Lucas sa team sa kaniyang dating baseline. This would trigger an immediate amygdala hijack. Catastrophic scenarios ang isipin niya, mga unpaid bills at personal failure. Pero dito natin nakita ang full optimization. Naramdaman niya ang initial cortisol spike. And then, absolute stillness. Ang kaniyang cognitive load ay nanatiling zero. Sabi lang niya, naintindihan ko ano ang schedule ng turnover. This level of emotional regulation left his boss in a state of total cognitive dissonance. Hindi ito ang reaksyong inaasahan nila habang ang paligid ay nakakaranas ng sympathetic nervous system hijack iyakan, paralysis, at panic. Si Lucas ay bumalik sa kanyang workstation. He didn't just return to work, he returned to his protocol. While others were processing the trauma of severance, he was already quantifying his next move. Ito ang Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Sa behavioral framework ni Musashi, ang puno ay nananatiling tahimik hindi dahil sa kawalan ng hangin, kundi dahil ang root-to-mass ratio nito ay optimized para sa extreme volatility. Hindi siya tinatalaban ng external stressors. Ang invincibility ni Lucas ay hindi biglan. It's the result of 105 days of compounding interest from his training blocks. Every session of emotional observation was a deposit into his cognitive reserve. Malalim na ang ugat niya. Hindi na siya basta-basta matitiba ng corporate storm. Habang ang iba ay stuck sa emotional processing. Si Lucas ay nasa execution phase. Systematically, he updated his resume, activated his high-value network, and scheduled interviews. He treated his layoff not as a crisis, but as a mandatory system upgrade. The ROI of Fudoshin is undeniable. Sa loop ng 310 days, Lucas secured 3 competing offers. He didn't just find a new job. He orchestrated a strategic pivot to a tier. One firm with a 40% salary premium. This is what happens when you master the invincible mind sa behavioral metrics ng sports psychology. Ang resilience ay hindi isang static trait o default setting. It is an adaptive response developed through graded exposure to discomfort, parang stress testing sa isang high-frequency trading system. Chapter 7, Kyoho. Ang estratehiya na void o kawalan, dito natin i-optimize ang iyong reaction time by removing unnecessary cognitive load. Sabi ni Musashi, Sa labanan, huwag mong i-prioritize ang pagpanalo. I-prioritize mo ang hindi matalo. Sa corporate terms, focus on risk mitigation before aggressive scaling. Kapag masyado kang hyper-focus sa winning outcome, nagkakaroon ng performance, leakage at operational gaps. Pero kapag ang heuristic mo ay zero loss, nananatiling solid at airtight ang iyong execution. In-apply ito ni Lucas sa kanyang onboarding phase. Imbes na gumawa ng performative hero moves para magpa-impress sa BGC management, he focused on a zero error margin. He prioritized operational precision over dramatic flair. Standard operating procedure. Check. Deliverables. 100% completion rate. Zero office politics. This is lean management applied to character, ang tinatawag nating zero waste in motion. Quarterly review results. Lucas secures the promotion. Sa BGC, corporate jungle. Consistency isn't just a trait, it's a competitive moat. In the long run, reliability always trumps sporadic brilliance. Musashi didn't just fight, he calculated. He left zero structural gaps for his opponents to exploit absolute efficiency through the elimination of all probabilistic errors. Lucas scaled this framework into his personal life. Eat, sleep, training treated like high-stakes KPIs. No loopholes, no slippage, no deviation from the protocol. Now, we reach the final threshold. Chapter 8, Sutemi. Ang fast kung saan ililikwidate na natin ang pinakamalaking liability sa iyong growth, ang iyong ego, 6 months. Post-optimization. Unbreakable na si Lucas. Pero based sa aming behavioral audit, may huling psychological friction point, loss aversion, ang internal fear na baka ang high-yield lifestyle, na ito ay biglang mag-collapse. Dito pumasok ang ultimate framework ni Musashi Sutemi. This isn't just sacrifice. It is the total liquidation of the ego, isang radical cognitive decoupling mula sa konsepto ng sarili para ma-achieve ang peak execution. Sa kanyang dokodo, isinulat ni Musashi, I regret nothing, I fear nothing, I desire nothing. Ito ang ultimate zero attachment protocol. Kapag wala kang gustong patunayan sa BGC crowd, dun ka nagiging untouchable. To neutralize fear, kailangan mong disrupt ang identity fusion. Stop anchoring your self-worth sa quarterly KPIs o sa title mo sa email signature. Ang outcome ay variable. Ang input mo lang ang constant. Lucas executed a hard reset. Inalis niya ang reliance sa external validation loops, no more habit trackers, no more LinkedIn humble brags. He transitioned to pure execution. Ang discipline niya, naging isang invisible stream of high-value actions. Sa fast na ito, ni redline na ni Lucas ang kanyang cognitive load. Nagpatuloy ang practice. Pero ngayon, zero latency ego. No metrics, no copies. Dahil naintindihan niya ang ultimate truth ng Musashi framework. Hindi mo mawawala ang mismong core architecture mo. Dito pumasok ang social friction phase. Nagsimulang umiwas ang maka-opisina kay Lucas sa toxic corporate hierarchy. Kapag tinanggal mo ang iyong social mask, nagmumula kang system anomaly. You become a threat to their collective comfort zones. Hindi siya naging mayabang. He simply became a high-fidelity mirror. Nakikita nila sa kanya ang lahat ng missed deadlines, self-limiting beliefs, at ang mediocrity na kinasanayan na nila. Lucas became the living performance benchmark of their own procrastination. Tumigil ang friends niya sa peg-joke tungkol sa diet o disiplina. The casual gaslighting stopped kasi napatunayan niya na ang impossible ay isa lamang faulty dataset. He optimized his reality while they stayed stuck in their legacy software. Chapter 9, Kensen Ichi, ang kumpultong system integration. Dito na nag-merge ang strategy at action. The blade and the mind are now on a single thread. Ang espada at ang zen ay isa. Look at the data stream of his daily routines. Pagkatapos ng isang taon, hindi na siya isang taong sinusubukang maging disiplinado. He achieved total operational convergence. Siya na mismo ang disiplina, no latency. Zero friction. Sa behavioral mapping, ito ang tinatawag nating identity integration. Kapag ang training at mindset ay naging kasing natural ng autonomic nervous system mo, you've bypassed the conscious bottleneck na reach mo, na ang nakakatakot na level. Your colleagues in the boardrooms of Makati will label you as a statistical outlier, isang error sa matrix nila. Ang level kung saan isipin ng tao na hindi ka na tao. At totoo, you have surpassed the baseline. Narrating mo ang realized human potential, the historical dataset ends with finality. Namatay si Musashi sa edad na 62, mag-isa. Pero may complete mastery sa kanyang sarili. No system noise. Just pure signal, a legacy that outlived his physical hardware by 4 centuries. I've decoded the framework and handed you the variables. Ang tanong ngayon bilang isang data analyst, bakit hindi mo ito ginagawa? Your stagnation is a conscious choice, not a lack of data. Let's be objective. Pareho kayo ng bilang ong oras. Parehong neuroanatomy na utak. Ang pinagkaiba lamang ay ang willingness na i-eliminate ang non-essentials at i-optimize ang iyong attentional resources. In our behavioral segmentation, mas pinipili ng marami ang comfort kaysa sa capability development. Pero dahil nandito ka pa sa final timestamp na ito, statistically, alam kong hindi ka kasama sa mediocrity of the majority. Input your data Ano ang unang addiction o cognitive excuse ang eliminate mo ngayon? Drop it in the comments para isama natin sa ating ongoing systemic analysis, the ultimate thesis. Tandaan na ang mental fortitude na dudulot ng takot sa mahihina ay ang tanging currency na mahalagang makuha sa mundong ito. End of transmission. Maraming salamat. Sa iyong cognitive engagement, ito ang Psychology Pilipinas. Magkita tayo sa susunod na data analysis session.